Hey guys, we're in Unit 4, Lesson 3. How is chemical energy converted into usable molecules? Okay, so we are going to be talking about cellular respiration at this point. As you see at the top, this is the equation for cellular respiration. You have glucose, which is C6H12O6, plus oxygen, 6 oxygens actually, 6O2. And that yields 6 carbon dioxides, 6 waters, and then you have a lot of usable energy for your cells. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how that happens. So basic cellular respiration is the process through which cells break down food to obtain usable energy. So the usable energy is called ATP. We do this through eating. All animals do it through eating. Converts the chemical energy of glucose to the chemical energy of ATP. So that is your transformation. So you're going from chemical energy of glucose, which is in your food, to the usable energy for cells. It occurs in all cells, and there are 2 main types of cellular respiration. We have aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So one uses oxygen and the other one does not. Okay, so glucose and oxygen go in to your body, and then your cells use ATP, carbon dioxide, and water are your products. Okay, so these are your reactants, these are your products. Okay, so aerobic respiration is the first type. We call this cellular respiration. This uses oxygen. It makes a lot of energy. So you see all this energy that is being formed. Okay, this happens in the mitochondria within your cells, and there are 3 main steps to this process. You have glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so 3 main steps in order to create all of this energy. The second type of cellular respiration is anaerobic respiration. We call this fermentation, and there is no oxygen within this whatsoever. Okay, so if there's no oxygen available, it would be anaerobic respiration. It just makes a little tiny bit of energy, and it occurs in the cytoplasm of cells, not in the mitochondria, just in the cytoplasm. And there's only 2 steps. You have glycolysis and fermentation. And there's 2 main types of fermentation. You have alcoholic and lactic acid. So back to aerobic respiration, remember that's the one that you need oxygen for. This happens inside the mitochondria. You can see in the upper right hand corner you have an image of a mitochondria with the labeling of its parts. It has an outer membrane on the outside. Then it has an inner membrane that is really wiggly and looks like it's smushed inside of there. Then you have the cristae, which are your curves right here and right here. And then the inside is called the matrix. Also something that's not listed on here, you have the intermembrane space, which is between the 2 membranes, the inner and outer membrane. Remember, your mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. This is where the majority of energy is produced for all cells. Your inner membrane folds into a series of cristae. So that is the curves, which allow for more surface area to generate ATP. And the matrix is the area surrounded by the inner membrane. So it's all this blue stuff. Okay, aerobic respiration. We're going to be talking more about this in the next lesson. In this lesson, the first step is glycolysis. So remember, there's 3 main steps in aerobic respiration. Anaerobic does not require oxygen, and it occurs in the cytoplasm. So this first part, the glycolysis part, does not require oxygen, but it does require 2 ATPs to get started. So it does require some energy to get started, but as you'll see at the end, you actually gain that back. Okay, so it is worth the investment. First step of both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So glycolysis is our first step, no matter if you are doing aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. And during this process of glycolysis, there is glucose from your food. It converts it into 3 carbon pyruvates. All right, so 3 carbon pyruvates. You see them right here. So here is your glucose, and it just gets split, okay, into 2 pyruvates. All right, and then it makes 2 net ATPs and 2 molecules of NADH. So that is an electron carrier. So a quick check about glycolysis. Is oxygen required for glycolysis? The answer is no. You do not need oxygen for glycolysis to start. But remember, you do need 2 ATP. So a little bit of energy to get that started. Where does this take place? Remember, this is taking place in the cytoplasm. Okay, so in this image, you see no oxygen, and it's in the cytoplasm, not in the nucleus, not in the mitochondria. And then how much ATP is made? You actually get 2 net ATP, meaning that you used 2, but you actually gained 4. So there's 2 net, meaning you have an overabundance of 2. 2 net ATP. So our second step is the Krebs cycle, but we need to talk about pre-Krebs cycle. So the pyruvate oxidation piece, many times this step gets combined with just the Krebs cycle in books and websites, but I just want to make you aware of it. Here, pyruvate bonds with coenzyme A, or CoA, to produce acetyl coenzyme A, all right, acetyl-CoA. This gives off 2 carbon dioxides and 2 NADH after 2 molecules of pyruvate. Okay, so you have your pyruvate, transport protein to get that in there, and you get carbon dioxide and coenzyme A. It bonds together and forms acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, so why do we count our product totals after 2 molecules of pyruvate instead of just 1? This is because glucose was originally broken down into 2 pyruvates. Okay, so we have those 2 that we need to use. So going into the Krebs cycle, all right, this occurs in the matrix of the mitochondria. Remember, the matrix of the mitochondria is that space within the inner membrane. Okay, oxygen is present within this area, and but it's not directly used. Okay, so there is oxygen present, though. I just want to make that clear. During this, it produces 4 carbon dioxides, 6 NADHs, 2 FADH2s, and 2 ATPs after 2 cycles per original glucose molecule. So for every 1 glucose molecule, goes around twice, all right, and that is what's produced. So carbon dioxide is considered a waste product, so you see that being disposed of right here. And NADH and FADH2, the electron carriers, move on to your ETC. So the ETC is your electron transport chain, and we're going to be discussing that here soon. So these guys right here are going to be moving into the electron transport chain. So real quick, is oxygen required for the pre-Krebs and the Krebs cycle? The answer is yes. Okay, you're seeing oxygen within the matrix. So where does this take place? In the mitochondria, within the matrix of the mitochondria. And how much ATP is made? We have 2 ATPs that are being made at this time. So 2 ATPs. So this is our last step, all right? The oxidative phosphorylation is our last step, all right? Oxygen is present during this step, And this actually occurs in the cristae of the mitochondria. Remember, those are the folds of the inner membrane. And this is made up of the electron transport chain and chemiosmosis. All right, so ETC is the electron transport chain. So at the end of the ETC, oxygen is the final electron acceptor. And this bonds with two H pluses to make water. So ultimately, along with ATP, water is also made. So this last step makes between 32 and 34 ATP. So this is a heavy energy maker. So your oxidative phosphorylation check, is oxygen required? The answer is yes. Where does this take place? We are still in the mitochondria, and to be more specific, it's within on the cristae, so the folds of the inner membrane. And how much ATP is made? We're looking at 32 to 34 ATP. That's a lot. Okay, last check-in. What type of cells go through cellular respiration? You're right, all cells. All right, which step of aerobic respiration occur in the cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is glycolysis, and within the mitochondria, you have both the Krebs cycle and the oxidative phosphorylation. Remember, all three of these steps are required for cellular or aerobic cellular respiration, but glycolysis is in the cytoplasm and the other two are in the mitochondria. Number 3, which step requires ATP to get started? You're right, glycolysis. Okay, we need to add some energy in order to get energy out for glycolysis. And then number 4, when is the waste product carbon dioxide produced? This is produced in the pre-Krebs and the Krebs cycle. Okay, so in the center of the entire aerobic respiration steps, that is where your carbon dioxide is produced as a waste product. All right, so this is your summary chart, okay? So make sure you get this filled in. You have all 3 steps of your aerobic respiration. We got your ATP that's made at each step, and if you add it all up, we are getting 36 to 38 ATP. So that's a lot of energy that our cells can use, okay? The location, remember glycolysis is in the cytoplasm and the other 2 are in the mitochondria. If you want to be more specific, remember the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle is in the matrix, and then you have your oxidative phosphorylation, which is the electron transport chain, and that is on the cristae of the inner membrane. So that's your folds. Your reactants, remember reactants are what go in, products are what come out. Reactants are glucose and 2-ATP for glycolysis, and then you get pyruvate, NADH, and 2-net ATP. When you talk about the Krebs cycle, your reactant is pyruvate, and then your products are NADH, FADH2, 2-ATP, and you have carbon dioxide there, which is your waste. And then the last step, your electron transport chain, is your reactants of oxygen, NADH, FADH2, and then your products, that's your heavy hitter of energy and water. Okay, so if you take a look at this, you are seeing where things are being done. So within the cytoplasm, you got glycolysis, taking glucose and changing it into pyruvic acid, with 2-net ATP being made. Then this goes into the matrix of the mitochondria, and it goes through the Krebs cycle where you also have 2-ATP being made with a waste product of carbon dioxide. And then it goes through the cristae, through the electron carriers, so your NADH and your FADH2, take it to the cristae where you are going through your electron transport chain, which we call oxidative phosphorylation. We got some oxygen added here, and we're creating a lot of energy with also some water. So after glycolysis, you have two directions you can go. So if oxygen is not present, so no oxygen, you go fermentation. If oxygen is present, you go through the Krebs cycle. All right. We are going to be talking about anaerobic respiration, which is fermentation or without oxygen, in the next lesson. So we will be talking more about that soon. Okay. So that is it. And I hope you have your notes finished. Go back if you missed anything, and we will see you in class. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day.